Welcome to the Perspective Podcast. Josue here. As you guys probably already know, from the Democratic Republic of Congo, attended the Oral Roberts University. As you guys have probably heard as well, we preach at times, but as you know, we don't talk about it as often here on this podcast. And we also have Chase Brown, who's a regular here around these podcast streets. He was born in Texas. He attended the University of North Texas. He's been an aspiring philanthropic creative all his life since he was born. But even above that, he's been, and he loves very long walks on the beach, which is incredible. It's almost 2023. And I'm really feeling like this might be the podcast that breaks the ice on why the walks on the beach are so important to him. But without further ado, whoever Adu is, how you doing?
Is it Freddie Adu?
Freddie Adu. Is he a soccer player?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too bad he never won a World Cup.
Yeah.
But it's okay, Freddie.
Yeah, I heard a lot about him. My parents used to be like, you need to be like him. I'm like, I don't even play soccer.
Tell me I need to be like LeBron James. That's better.
Right? He was a kid that people should aspire to be like, so.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm doing well though. It's been a busy past week or so, but it's been really good. Me and the boy Raul, the infamous Raul, went down to Houston last weekend and did a outreach down there with Alpha Elite and Anaka Power. Shout out to those brands, where they donate their leftover inventory and returned items to us. And then we distribute those to the homeless community in Houston. But it was really cool because Raul came down there on behalf of Deep Love, which we talk about a good amount. The outreaches that happen in Fort Worth monthly. And was there just to help out. He added some hygiene products to kind of what we normally do down there. And then was scouting out to kind of see, where the future for Deep Love will be. So might be some future partnerships down there in the Houston area. But it was fun. Jammed out to some Coldplay and John Mayer on the way back, which had been a long time since I'd listened to them. But dang, were they good. Yeah, man, it's been a typical Monday.
Yeah.
But how are you, boy?
I'm good, just chilling. It's been cold. It's getting cold outside, so we're kind of just adjusting to it all.
You think 80 degrees is cold?
Was it? I actually haven't been outside. I went outside once, and it felt okay. Is it really 80 degrees?
It was.
Oh, wow.
But it's okay. The last 2 days have been chilly for sure.
The last 2 days have been chilly, But other than that, no, things have been good. The year is almost done. So I feel like things are kind of slowing down just so they can pick back up again.
Of course.
People are getting ready to make New Year's resolutions, things like that. So it's very, very exciting. But we have a very special guest in the building with us today. Wow, she's really nervous right now, so I really gotta build up the anticipation. Yeah, I don't even know where to start with this. Wow, 5 times. Let's go with the 5. Let me really, really think deep and hard and about this. She's a 5-time most loving teacher in the DFW. That's a big award because there's some 8 million people in the Dallas-Fort Worth area alone.
A lot of teachers.
Yeah, a lot of teachers among that. And for her to be at the top of that list is incredible. That's incredible. Number 4, because after 5, 4. Number 4.
If I remember right, number 4, 4-time Girls Bible Study Leader of the Month.
Wow. Wow. That's a lot of accolades. That's a lot of months. It's a lot of months, too.
A lot of meetings.
Wow. Shoot. Let's go number 3. Number three. We're just taking it out from all the viewers that are watching online. That was a joke. There's no viewers here. But from all the figurative viewers that are watching online, we're taking things from what they're saying. Number three. Let's go. She's smiling so big. She's so nervous right now. Are we doing too much?
No, it's fine.
It's fine?
Just go.
Just go? Okay. Let's make it a little more dramatic. Number 3. 3-time. This was what was that? Is that Charisma Magazine?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Charisma Magazine. They voted her 3-time Friend of the Year, which is a great honor.
Ooh.
That's intense. You know, that's serious. That's
Dang.
a lot of commitments, a lot of birthdays.
Yeah, show us to how to be a friend later.
Yeah, that's that's serious. 2-time, for those of you guys that know, 2-time most supportive, most checked into, most asked about, especially when it's come to like perspective and what we've been doing here. As you guys will probably be able to hear on the podcast, there's not been a single person walking God's green earth presently that has personally asked me, I don't know about you, that has personally asked me and just had conversations about all of these different things. And so, you know, she is perspectives. You know? 2 times most perspective. That's what I'm gonna say. And then 1-time, you guys already know how we do it here. 1-time child of God. You know, she loves Jesus and she loves the Lord and His people. And so we're very excited, ladies and gentlemen. Let's put our hands together for Miss Tiffani Jones, who's in the building with us. Wow.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you made it.
Wow, I'm here.
You're here.
This is wow.
Wow. That's all you're gonna say is just wow?
That's all I can say is wow.
Okay.
You know that one, it's like a Vine or a meme where the guy's like, wow, oh my gosh. Have you seen that?
No, I don't
Okay,
think so.
it's fine. Someone will understand what I'm saying.
Okay.
It's okay.
It's Owen Wilson,
No,
the
it's
actor. Wow.
like no, it's like this
He
guy.
is that guy though.
Owen Wilson.
Yes, but
You know, the blonde guy with the crooked nose.
Yeah,
The actor.
I know him.
Wow.
Yeah.
He does do that a lot.
Yeah.
I want to share a
Anyways.
struggle of mine.
Okay,
A
go
struggle
ahead.
of mine for the people on the podcast. Like sometimes when I go places, something I'm trying to work on. I don't know what helps it. When I go places, you know, like you're supposed to introduce people. You know, if you know people, you introduce people. My mind sometimes blanks out
On names.
on names.
Aye.
Really bad. Like I'm talking about people I've known all my life. My mind's just gone. I gotta sit there and be like, oh my goodness, I can't remember the names. And so because of that, like I won't introduce people. I'm not trying to be mean. My mind just blanks out.
So that's
You know?
where your mind blanks out. Not in
Yes.
front of people.
Yes, when I'm trying to
When you're
introduce
trying
people,
to yeah.
my mind just blanks out. And I think the worst is when you can't pronounce the person's name correctly. Ooh. Yeah.
And
But
you're
anyways,
supposed to know it.
huh?
You're like supposed to know it.
You're supposed to know it because you've known them you're supposed to know it because you've known them like for so many years, but you can't just. Yeah, but that's besides the point. How are you doing today?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm doing great.
Yeah,
You know, loving life,
loving life.
thriving, you know, all the things.
Yeah. Well, what's causing you to thrive in this season, as we like to call it?
Yeah.
The season.
Yeah.
I know you don't like season.
I don't.
The
I
term
don't.
season.
But I like using it for conversation's sake. You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Lord's just been so good. And that, not like a cliche, like, oh, praise the Lord, He's just so good. But like, genuinely, He's just been so good. And I feel like coming out of a difficult season, where the Lord was ever present, so near, helped me to see that when kind of the things like that rocky road kind of settled out, that the Lord was the reason why. Like, it's not necessarily that I'm grateful for that rough patch being over, but for who He is through that and like carrying me through that, if that makes sense. If that was too many analogies, I don't know. But
No.
I think that, yeah, I've just been just overjoyed at how good the Lord is, and how faithful He is to His character, you know? So that's why it's been good and fantastic and amazing. Ask me 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, a month ago, it would have been a different story. So,
I feel you.
yeah.
And as I've been open about on the podcast a good amount too, it hasn't really been the best year for me. But at the same time, like, I also don't remember a year where I think the Lord has held me so close. Because definitely it's not to my credit that I feel close to the Lord during this year. But through Him holding me, through friends constantly encouraging me towards the Lord, me receiving their encouragement, whatever ounce of humility I have in my body receiving their encouragement, because we know there ain't much humility in there. But yeah, and so I feel you in that, and it's a good place to be in. It's a growing place, and it's a place that establishes things in your character and in your soul for the future. So it's really, really good. But so to get into it, you know, we've mentioned you a number of times on the podcast. Josue is really good at doing that. You have stepped into being our director of communications for Perspectives. I need to do a better job as someone who's here to support you in that, for being active, being consistent, and all of that. But it's been amazing to have you as a part of the team, and you're an answered prayer, seriously. But in that, give us a little bit of background on who you are, you know, whatever you want to share to everyone.
Okay. So, I don't know what to say.
We're just staring at her right now.
Okay, background. I'm born and raised in Texas. Oh, sorry.
You're good.
Born and raised in Texas. Let's see. I don't, like, you know when people ask you, like, who you are, and it's like, I don't want to default to what I do, but that's, like, the only thing that's coming to mind. So this is not who I am, but what I do currently is I'm a pre-K teacher. Love children. Just love them with all my heart. So that's a sweet thing that I get to do every day. Let's see. I don't know. I don't know what to say. Like who? I don't know.
Where do you go to church?
I go to church at Watermark.
Okay. Where'd you go? Did you go to college at all?
Yeah.
What'd you do?
Went. What did I do?
Yeah. Where'd you go to college? What'd you major in?
Okay.
What were you involved in?
I went to Richland first, which is like community college in Dallas. That's a whole story in itself.
You can share if you want.
We're not here for that.
This
but
is your podcast. This is your podcast.
I don't. Okay. Okay. If we're gonna do it.
Do it.
We got this. You got it.
So yeah. I guess kind of backstory. School's my identity for a very long time. Like, as long as I can remember, it just was, like, what I did before family asked, like, how are you? It was, like, how's school going? From an early age, like, elementary school on. And so I took, that definitely was my identity, so I took a lot of pride in that. And so come high school, I'm thinking Ivy League, you know, I'm thinking, like, I'm reaching for the stars. And did not have peace about just any of the places that I had applied to and got accepted to. And one day I'd heard the Lord just say Richland. And again, it's a community college. And so I was like, there's no way. Like in high school, you want to tell people like, I'm doing this really big thing. Like I'm going to this esteemed school, and in a community college to a senior just took a lot of, took a hit to my pride in that. But you can't, like, I heard from him clearly, like clear as day, Richland. And so anyways, of course, obeyed that, did that. And the Lord just began to like work on my identity and breaking that from like, you are not how you perform academically. You're so much more. You're my daughter. And so, and not only who I am, but who he is and all of that. So that's how it started. And then whenever I finished Richland, I wanted to go to, I was like, okay, I've done the basics. Now it's time to go to that university or whatever. Still did not have peace, but it applied and did the whole thing. And it was 2 weeks. I'd accepted. It was 2 weeks into like, or no, it wasn't 2 weeks. It was the Friday before classes started, and I had zero peace. Like, was not supposed to do it. So I called admissions. Was like, I can't go. And so that ended up being a good amount of time between when I would go back to school, just because, again, it was like this, maybe I'm not supposed to go because the Lord is still working something out. In between that time of like not just figuring out like maybe this isn't the route the Lord wants me to go, is when I did the internship with Initiative Network. And so the Lord just like took me on a completely different path and all of that. And that's a whole another story for another day. But after that, like through that, found out about Grand Canyon University, and because they had like a
They got a
partnership.
university in the Grand Canyon.
Yeah,
That thing's
Lots
that
of
big.
blocks. Yeah.
right
Grand
in the
Canyon's big.
middle, just
What I heard.
smack dab.
Yeah, it's hot there,
Yeah,
but it gets cold at night.
real cold, and you see the stars.
Did
It's
you
fantastic.
go to the university or was that online?
That was online because
Okay.
at that point I was now working full time where I am now, and so they had an online program, and so I at that point, again, like I'd always known that I loved children and was like called to just impact the lives of children, and so at first I always thought like I'd just be an elementary teacher and go that route, but then did the whole nannying thing and everything, really realized I just love caring for children in the home and things like that. So at this point, I also like realized that I had a heart for adoption, foster care, and things like that. And so when GCU came up, they had a program for childhood and adolescent disorders under their like behavioral health degree. And so through a lot of prayer, did that. Just completed it last month.
Congrats.
There we
That's
go.
awesome.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's that's like the short version of what schools look like for me. But yeah, so that's what I did. Yeah. I love video games.
Do you?
I do love
That's a
them.
surprise. Okay.
I've gotten into the NBA within like the last year. So I'm
Okay.
tall, but I can't. Sorry
Yeah,
to anybody.
not a hooper. We
Not a
understand.
hooper.
Yeah.
I'm not a contact sport type of girl. And there's a lot of defense and guarding, and
Yeah.
I love to watch it. It's fantastic. I love it so much. But was not me.
Go.
This is such a random thing, but I've always wanted to say
Say it.
I play with my left hand, and I feel like that is a good trait to have. You know,
Are you
'Cause
right-handed or left-handed?
I'm both.
Both.
But
Okay.
I play sports with my left, and so
That's
like
interesting.
shooting basketballs and like all that kind of stuff. So with my left, and so I feel like there's so much untapped potential in that. I don't know why I said that, but
No, that's
I just want to get that out there. Anyway,
Can you teach lefty at all, Josue?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen you do a lefty layup.
No, I
Thinking about it.
like playing with my left hand. And I can't say it because my haters are listening.
Oh.
But I'll say it anyways
Go
because they
ahead.
can't stop me.
Go ahead.
That was a joke. But I like playing with my left hand because then people are like, oh, I'm going to make them go right. But that's my dominant hand. So, yeah. So I like dribbling with my left so they can make me go right so that I can go right because that's my, But that's cool. But I
Yeah.
do have a question.
Go ahead.
It's a very deep question. Video games.
yes.
Yeah. What video games have you played? Are you playing? Like what was interesting? Because I'm like a big gamer. I just don't play.
Okay.
It's been years since I've really like sat down and. But I love video games. I just haven't played
I
in a while.
love them too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever, like, going back into school made all that stuff shut down. But since I'm done, I'm, like, getting back into it and loving it. But before that, I loved third-person shooters. Call of Duty is really not. I just need to see myself. So, like, Gears of War. Loved that
Yeah.
a lot. Started out when I was 5. Shout out to my dad.
Okay, so you've been at this for
Yeah, I've been
some
on it for a
time
little
now.
bit.
Yeah.
And the game that I had was a PS. The one that I remember loving was playing with him was what was it? Oh, dang, it was almost like a Call of Duty, but it wasn't Modern Warfare, but it was like something similar to that on the PS1, and I loved it so much. So anyway, started off really early, but I've always loved them. Just fantastic. So right now, I don't know. I kind of got convicted with the shooting thing because I just don't want to hurt people anymore. But but
I don't even want to hurt virtual people.
yeah. But I
I be
like.
hurting these kids' feelings when I kill them.
Ooh, do you talk
I tried that in high school and they were not kind to me.
Oh no, they're not kind to anybody.
I couldn't take it and I just turned my headset off.
Wow.
But I tried for a little bit. That wasn't my cup of tea. That wasn't my speed. So I just listened to music and played Gears of War.
Okay.
So yeah, I was gonna say I like Gears of War because you don't kill people. You kill the alien type things that are trying to take over the world.
Yeah.
And there's like a flame gun. Like it's just fantastic. So, anyways,
That sounds right up Josue's alley.
Yeah.
what do you
gun?
play?
Halo.
Okay.
There was a summer where my friends and I, to this day, every time I play a video game, it has to be Halo 2. Only Halo 2 though.
Why?
We play the same map on Halo 2 because there was a summer we played it the whole entire summer. Back when I was a sophomore in high school, my friends just come to my house 8 in the morning while people were sleeping. They would knock. I would open the door. We would play until about 2. Somehow we'll go find something to eat. We'll come back, play until about 5 when the Texas heat would go down. We would go and play basketball, and then people would go home, and then the next day we're doing it all over again. And so because of that, like it was just stuck in my head.
Yeah.
And so that's what I play Halo. But I love fighting games.
Yes, me
Yeah.
too.
Like
that was one of
fighting
the
games. Yeah.
like what kind? Like Mortal Kombat?
Like Mortal Kombat, Street Fighters, the Narutos, the what is it called? Final Fantasies and all of those. Like I love fighting games.
Yeah.
You know, because I gotta put in the combos.
Yes.
You know, because it helps you think. You know, Chase
Right.
doesn't play games. He's a writer. You know,
Not
so
at all. Not even a little.
I stopped with Pokemon in 7th grade.
Oh, I
And
like
that was
that
about it.
too. That was fun.
That and then maybe some NFL Street every now and then.
Yeah.
I couldn't get into the sports ones. The only one that I did like in the early 2000s, they had the Street NBA one.
Oh yeah, everybody's playing that.
I loved
Yeah.
that one. But other than that, I just couldn't get the combos for like football and golf and all that kind of stuff. I couldn't do it. But
is what
more
it
power
is.
to you.
It is what it is.
This
Yeah.
is news to me. I didn't know these things.
About me or about Tiffany?
Both.
Both?
You know, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
But it
you,
makes sense. You don't really play a lot of
yeah.
video
I mean, you
games.
see the GameCube down there.
Yeah, we
I've
do
said-
have a GameCube.
I've said a lot. That's the most recent game system I own. So
GameCube?
yeah,
Cube.
I
Like
got that thing in like
retro?
2nd grade. Yeah,
Wow.
that's the most recent game
Worth
system I have.
thousands.
Wow.
I don't know if it is. It
I-
probably
I-
is though. You
it's- I
don't
think
find
it's-
those a
I
lot.
think it's worth like
Artifact for
500.
Is it really? Yeah, I would imagine.
Ain't no way I'm selling it though.
Yeah.
Nope.
I gotta
No
keep
way.
that.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
a
so y'all
relic.
can play Super Smash Bros. Melee and all that kind of stuff.
That's crazy though.
Amazing. Love
So
it.
games, studying, and did you feel? Because you said I wanted to ask, but I want to let you finish. You know, as you were going through it, because I know you mentioned like school was your thing. Was that because you were like super smart and it was just everything you did? You were very studious, and that's why like school and education like became your thing. Because for me, school, I feel like I was on the other side of the spectrum. So I was just curious.
I wouldn't call myself super smart. Like, how do you say like, yeah,
Or
I was pretty, like,
I don't know how we can
I
describe.
mean,
that.
what did you finish in your class?
well, I went to a really big school,
Yeah.
so I don't
So like
know.
top 10%, top 5%,
something like that.
Yeah.
Not top 5.
That's
I can't go that high, but I was
was like
up
top
there.
so
90,
she's
you know
smart.
what I'm
yeah.
Yeah, but I also want to say I never cheated.
There we go.
once.
Never cheated?
And that's why I earned my spot. I was so proud of my spot because I knew all those people top 5, they cheated. I know they did.
Oh, I was cheating hard.
I did.
And I
I
still
just
didn't make the top
couldn't
five.
do
Josue.
it.
Oh yeah, I was.
You
What?
made top 5?
No.
No.
I said I made top 90.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah,
That's okay.
Yeah, but I was cheating.
That's
hard.
okay. Hey, school's not for everyone
It's
either.
not.
It's not.
It's not.
Tests aren't for everyone.
They're not.
Like, no.
Because my thing was always been, why is it that whenever we're learning in a group setting, but when it comes to tests, I gotta do it by myself.
Right.
You know
Talk
what I'm saying?
about it.
Like,
you
I'm
need a
serious.
group test.
I'm serious.
That's good.
I'm serious. Like when teachers are teaching, they don't teach me.
Right,
I've
right.
never had a private
Right,
teacher.
right.
Why am I taking private exams?
Right.
You know
And
what
I
I'm
mean,
saying?
if we're in the United States, we're all in this together, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Like
I learned on
we
High
got
School Musical.
we got
Right.
teams at work. You know, we got teams in all these areas, but not in tests. Okay, I get you.
I can see it.
That's
I
all
really
I'm saying.
could. It's okay.
That's what I'm saying.
You know?
I love group projects.
I did not.
What?
Because it was mostly put on me.
Oh yeah, I would have been the kid to cheat off of
Yeah.
you, put all the group projects on you and everything else
No.
with no shame.
Yeah, and I would have been like, Josue.
Yeah, because I was the type of kid like, hey, I'm not coming to class. You gotta sign me in.
Oh no.
See,
Yeah.
I'd
couldn't
be
do
like her coworker, like I'd be like the second one in the group before that would be doing stuff. Just enough, like I'd say just above probably where I was pulling my weight to make up for the slackers, but to make sure that the person who was really doing it like didn't hate me.
Yeah, I was dead weight.
Yeah, you just didn't care about people and their feelings.
No, I didn't.
Which is, I think that kind of goes into why when you can walk into a room and just not care. Mm-hmm. Because you're just like, you've just been living this life like, it's
I've been
fine.
letting people down. You know?
No, you're not caring about what people think.
No, you don't
Yeah.
care what people think. We should trade.
We should trade.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
let's
say something.
trade.
I don't mean it in a bad way.
Go ahead. You don't want to be me.
Not you personally.
You just don't want to have that. Go
I
ahead.
just don't know how I would deal with life like just.
Internal.
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
feel like that would be hard for me because I've always been so external about everything. Like it would be kind of hard for me just to, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, you and your sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be hard for me. Like you just kind of growing up like that. You know, I feel like that would be tough.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't mean that in a
It's
bad
okay.
way.
I get
I
it.
feel
I
like
get
it's just so
Yeah.
kind of different.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Just a thought.
Just a thought.
Yeah, just kind of put it out there. But okay, good. So because of education, you know, that was, you really, you know, gave a lot of attention towards that. So I think in light of that, because it's a conversation the world was having, like in Bible studies and things of that nature. Because schools, it's not even like a podcast about school, but it does teach us, you know, if you study, you work really hard, you know, you do good and things of that nature. Would you say that kind of mentality formed your upbringing, maybe your relationships with people, your relationship with God? Did you think that kind of contributed in any kind of way?
Yeah, for sure. I think that because I was so performance based that it just was like, I have to, like how you're talking about, like, please people in the sense of like, if I don't do this, I'll let them down or like whatever. And then I guess with my relationship with the Lord, it's like, it just really, I think that led into like a legalistic type of mindset of like, this is what he says, I have to do it this way. If I don't, like, he's gonna like take himself away from me. Like, just like, it just got into a really bad place with that. And so, yeah, I think that without a doubt, especially anything you place your identity in, I think it's gonna have an impact on how you operate in general. Like, you know, so for sure had a huge impact on just how I lived, how I viewed myself, how I viewed who I was to people, who I was to the Lord, who I was to my parents, everything, you know.
Yeah. I think the thing for school that carried over for me was because I think anyone who knows me knows that I run late just to about everything. The thing is, that ain't a recent trend. In fact, my mom jokes that that's been ever since even before I was born, because I was supposedly born like 3 or 4 weeks late.
Oh my
I see what
gosh.
you did.
And so she brings that joke in there every other time. But no, I think I look back to high school because I was thinking through like why am I always late to things, and why do I not care that I'm always late to things? And a memory came up that in high school I would go from like one class to go to like my statistics class. And then me and one of my friends at the time, like me and her would catch up like between that period, like every single time. But then we'd end up talking too long to where then I would go into that math class probably like 4 minutes late, something like that every time. And that teacher was like somewhat chill. She'd be like, Chase, like, why are you late? And like, I'd always be like, oh, like I was talking, I have to go all the way from the other side of the school, like all this kind of stuff. And she'd be like, okay, just go sit down. And so in that, then it even like compounded whenever I went to college. Like I would have the lacrosse stuff in the morning, then do my own workout. And then I feel like every single class that I would go to after that, like I would show up either right on time or like 5 minutes late. But in college, they don't care. Like as long as you're passing and as long as you're getting your grades, which I would, they're like, okay, cool. And so then it goes to like work now to where like even I'm glad to say I like where I work is like pretty chill to where like we're supposed to be there anywhere from like 8:30 to like 9. But like if you show up at 9:10, like 9:15, like you're okay because like you'll just stay there for however long you need to get your work done. You'll stay a little bit late and you're good. And so it's just interesting how like the habits that we create, especially in school, whether it be like performance-based things, whether it be, let's just say taking other people's contributions from their own work. Josue is just like, I'm just going to be quiet. And just all these things, even whenever it comes to like forming friendships and just stuff like that. Yeah, I haven't really thought about it because we've talked a fair amount about how family cultures affect us a lot. And it's something that everyone needs to go through that process of, they're raised in a certain family culture and then they go into the world and it's just like, oh, American culture is different than like what my family culture is for like all three of us in the room. And then from there, it's just like, oh, wait, well, American culture is different than church culture. Church culture is different than kingdom. Like going through all of these things where we're put in these environments and we have to figure out who we are, but we also have to abide in the truth in that. And school environment wasn't really something that I thought about, like had affected me too much, except for just like the lateness kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think school, like, because I just started thinking about it again, because when I was in school, in terms of like being in a room and whatever, like I was trying to be the class clown, so I've been getting practice at this communication thing for like a long time. Yeah. But surprisingly, whenever it came time to present, I would always get nervous.
Really?
But if it was just talking, oh yeah, I could do that. I think because I never wanted to be judged for my work, so I would get nervous when it came time to do that. But just to like make jokes and make teachers angry or whatever.
You did that?
What? Listen.
Made them mad?
Listen, we don't have enough time on this podcast.
Josue.
When I was in the 9th grade.
Josue.
I'm going to say her name. I hope she's listening. She's married now. Her name was Miss Bittner. I don't even know how to spell that.
Right.
I'm sure we made that lady quit. We were freshmen in high school. Like, it was bad. I remember one time, she was a cheerleader coach. We felt she gave special privileges to some of the girls that were cheerleaders in the class. One time I'm sitting in the back, and my friend, he bumps me, because he never wanted to ask the questions, but he always wanted me to ask them so that everybody can get a laugh. So one day she's teaching. This lady is teaching about something. I raised my hand and she rolled her eyes.
Oh, no.
She rolled her eyes.
She already knew.
She already knew. She was like, what? And I said, I was just curious. What language do they speak in France?
Josue, why would you say that?
I'm talking about everybody started laughing. And that lady was just like, if teachers could hit kids.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, she would have hit me
World
a long
star.
time ago.
Yeah.
It was that lady. There was one time. This is my favorite story. I've only been suspended once in school, and that was her class.
Suspended? What did you do?
So
wait, like detention or actual suspension?
Like you could not go to school?
I couldn't go to school.
You weren't afraid of your parents at this point?
But here's how I got out of it.
Oh my gosh.
So my parents are like really African. They don't understand the school system in America. So sometimes we would get away with certain things, So I'm sitting there.
Yeah, I just got a 3-day holiday.
Not that bad.
Like a special
I had a lot of siblings, right? But
right.
we can get away with things.
Yeah.
So I had a kid. I mean, in class, everybody had their pencils like this. I don't know why, but it felt like everybody had their pencils at the edge. And I just went, and I was just hitting them.
Oh, no.
And I was hitting people's pencils and just flipping.
How old were you?
Huh?
What grade is this?
I was in ninth grade, whatever grade you're in 9th grade. But it was only in her class. It wasn't another class. It was only in her class. Because it was a bad environment.
It's like you knew.
Oh yeah, like it was one of those classes you looked forward to. Because I knew it was gonna get in trouble.
I would have had anxiety every day in class.
I would imagine. Like all my other classes, I was funny, I was light, but I didn't take it that far. In that class, ages to the extreme. So I'm hitting people's pencils. I hate this kid's pencil. This kid called me a stupid African bleep.
Oh no!
I said,
"Oh no!"
whoa. And I think my body just reacted.
Oh, for sure.
And I pushed him into the desk, and then he falls in the desk, and everybody's like, oh. And then he starts crying. He's crying loud. And so this kid picks up a chair because he's about to hit me with the chair.
Oh.
And so now we're like at a triangle. So the teacher's over here. The kid is right here. I'm standing there. I'm like, if this kid throws this chair, I'm going to move.
Over.
And this girl's probably going to RIP, right?
Right.
That's what I was thinking. So I'm looking at the teacher like, you're the teacher.
You know what to do.
Get control of the class. She literally gave me that look. You deserve to get hit.
Oh,
You
no.
know? And we had like a standoff for like 5 minutes.
He was just holding.
He was just holding the chair crying.
Oh,
Because about to
buddy.
hit me, yeah. Until somebody ran out the classroom, had to go call one of the coaches. The coaches came, they took the chair from him, and then I got suspended. But I didn't tell my parents what I did. I told my parents what he did, hence why, there wasn't a lot of repercussions there. But anyway, so, yeah, I was...
You're out there.
Yeah, I was out there. It was
You're just sharing everything today.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was a good story.
Yeah, I have too many good stories. But in light of the culture in the school, I think like, because you take that and then you bring that to college, because what I saw in my environment is kind of what influenced, how I was in college. Because when I went to college, I would talk a certain way or do things a certain way. Then I realized different people in different parts of the U.S. don't do what we were doing in Texas. I went to college thinking everybody studied Texas history. Because, we did Texas history. So I just assumed everybody studied Texas history. And so I definitely do think like those type of environments also affect us in the same kind of way work environments affect us. I saw a graph where it says when you're growing up, time spent with your loved ones when you're born is way up. And then it slopes down so bad. By the time you're like in your 40s, you're barely spending time with loved ones, or it's only a few of them, I should say. But when it came to the work thing, it started off as 0 and it just stays like this for like the rest of your life. You know what I'm saying? So we spend so much time around like people at school, people at work, and those things. And so they definitely do impact us.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So from there, is there anything else that you want to share about you that God's brought to your mind?
I think I've shared enough today.
Think you've shared enough?
Well,
Oh my gosh.
no, just kidding.
All right.
But yeah, no, I don't.
Well, we will be okay with that. But to get to the main topic that we know the Lord put on your heart to talk about today, do you want to introduce it, actually thinking about it?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so Chase had shared with me this assessment that talks about like the ways that you can connect with the Lord daily. Like daily encounters is, I think, right? What
This is
it's
the
called.
verbiage, yeah.
Yeah, the verbiage. And it was really eye-opening to me because I when I took the assessment and got the results back, I could identify like, yes, these things are true. So as I was thinking about it, knowing that the holidays are coming up, and even if it's not a holiday whenever you're listening to this, whether you're just in a busy season, as you so love to call it, or just whatever life looks like, I think it's important to know personally if you are like on autopilot or if you're actually intentionally connecting with the Lord. And so, and we obviously want to do the latter. But yeah, would just love to like talk about what that looks like, kind of give an overview of like the 12 ways, and then like what it looks like for you guys, because I know, especially you, I know that you're a busy man, and you are too.
Josue
too.
definitely more busy than me now.
Really?
Because he's got something on his plate that he hasn't shared on this platform yet.
Oh, yeah.
That takes up a good amount of time that we're all happy about.
Yay.
Try to just slide.
We'll leave it at that unless
Yeah.
Josue wants to talk about it more.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
Yeah, maybe
Give it
one
some
day.
time. Let it breathe. You know.
Yeah, I like
No
that.
rush. But yeah, so I would love to know y'all's thoughts on it, what that looks like for you, how you combat like the autopilot that kind of like, okay, just doing this to do it because I'm supposed to versus like I need this even in a busy season. So
Yeah, and I can give a little bit of additional, excuse me, background too, and then would love for Josue to answer. So the connect with God types that Tiffany talked about, they're something that Mercy Culture in their forming of a church and in their in the leadership's time with the Lord, they noticed how in the Word there is one way to God, which is Jesus. But in Jesus, there's many ways to connect with the Lord that are scriptural. That you see the disciples connecting with Jesus, with God through. You see in the Old Testament, you see in the New Testament, you see a lot. And so these 12 ways, I'll just read them off quickly. Adoration, compassion, conversation, creation, expression, fasting, learning, meditation, movement. It's definitely not mine, but I'm trying. Reformation, remembrance, and solitude. And so in it, you kind of take this test that guides you through these different situations and asks you, through your life, how do you connect with the Lord really well on these things or not? And they suggest 4 of these 12 ways to you, and it's something that in your daily time with the Lord, you can try them and just see how it works. It's something where for me, as I kind of hinted at, movement is one of those things that I'm not connected with the Lord through at all. That's not my thing. But at the same time, over the last month or so, I've been really praying and asking for the Lord, all right, teach me how to connect with you through movement. What does this look like? And asking for the Holy Spirit to give me the grace for that. But we'll have the link for that down in the description below. So if y'all want to check that out, y'all definitely can. But Josue, Mr. Pastor, man of God. Yeah. How do you connect with the Lord?
Yeah. So as I'm kind of looking through the list, there was a few of them that stood out. I'm like, I definitely do not do that. I'm like, okay, that works. I think there's just looking without going too deep into it. If I could to pick some, I like the adoration part of it, because I think there's just something I like saying, during those times, and then conversation as well. And then I'm not creation, expression, not fasting, learning. I do like the learning. So with meditation, I don't know if that's like prayer or what that's like. Focusing directly. I don't know if I really meditate a lot. Definitely no movements. Reformation. That's like changing your ways. Okay, I definitely like the remembrance part. So I'll just pick 4. I'll pick those 4. The remembrance. Learning, conversation, and then adoration. Yeah, I think for me, as I'm kind of looking at this list, I think it's cool because the Lord, I always tell people the Lord knows each and every single person specifically, and as you just shared, we're all able to know Him in a specific way as well. I was sharing one of the guys from the group how the Lord speaks to me may not be different for you. You're more logical, in the way you approach things. And so the way He speaks to me is going to be different for you. And so, like you said, ask Him, to reveal Himself to you in that kind of way. But in terms of your question, I think that's such a wonderful question because it's always something that I deal with is the autopilotness, because especially when you work at a church or do ministry stuff, it's easy to be an autopilot because you're not really even doing anything that's bad. I'm not out here quote unquote just insane, doing crazy things. You know what I'm saying? But I think what autopilot does for me, speaking for me personally, is it does rob me of the moments where it's being intentional because the comparison is whether we're intentional with our time or we're in autopilot. I think those moments when I'm in autopilot because of the busyness and just fake busyness, because I can make time out of my day, right?
Right.
Those autopilot moments really rob me of the moments of being like intimate with the Lord. You know what I'm saying? And I always tell myself, bro, you can do it in any time. Like prayer doesn't just have to be locked up in the room, for an hour shaking or whatever. You could be, driving. You could be sitting down by yourself. You could be at a park. It could just be done in so many different ways, like having that conversation with the Lord. But I think for me, like I said, idleness for sure is one of those things where I've recognized that I can tend to fall into, because I think not that I would call it like a spiritual high, because I think that's the wrong word for it. But it's like whenever you're up here with it, you're really up here. That sometimes when you get an autopilot, there's like a big downshift. Like there's a big change. Like it's because the high is like way up here, like feeling like, man, I'm really spending time with God. I'm enjoying it. Things are happening. Everything is exciting.
Yeah.
And then you kind of get stuck in that hamster wheel, that autopilot. And so I think for me, like it robs that time that the Lord does want to spend, because every single time he's had to deal with me regarding the autopilot, it's always about going back to my first love type of deal, because like I always tell myself, the Lord didn't just save me per se, or redeem me or call me to himself just so I can, preach and do all these different things or lead Bible study groups. Not that those things are bad, those things are great, they're added, right?
Right.
But like, it was for the sake of knowing him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think autopilot, when I'm not being intentional about knowing him, it robs me of that. And so, so just wanting to, there's just those moments where I'm like, man, like I haven't spent that time. And I found that that's the time where the most condemnation comes. And this condemnation of not being intentional with them.
Why
you know what I'm saying?
That?
That's crazy, right?
It's wild.
It's the craziest thing.
Yeah.
It's the craziest thing. And like I said, I've gone through not ups and downs. I've gone through seasons or moments. By seasons, I mean like a few days or a week or whatever. And then I got to get back. And I remember one time, like I was really feeling the condemnation strong about this exact same thing. And I got home and my dad was sitting down and watching TV. And for whatever reason, I didn't say hi to him. I just went upstairs. I wasn't mad. I wasn't nothing. I was just in my own head. And I just went upstairs. And I went upstairs and I sat down. And I felt like the Lord like spoke to me in that moment. He was like, you didn't say hi to your dad. And I was like, no, I didn't. And then he was like, yeah. It was like, do you think he loves you any less because you didn't say hi to him? I was like, no. I mean, that's just, And then he was like, so why do you do that with me?
Yee.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's that condemnation that likes to say, you didn't spend or do these things to be intentional with the Lord in this kind of way. Maybe he doesn't love you or whatever. Even though I know he does. But like I said, the condemnation is a liar.
Right.
And for so autopilot is kind of what that does for me. So,
Yeah. Real quick, what does your daily time with the Lord look like? Obviously, it's different every time. But what is your like go-to sort of rhythm? In a way.
I think in those moments it's definitely like I'm always curious how people pray. Because I'm like, when I pray, how people do that. I'm like, that's interesting. I'm a praise God for half of the time. God, you the best, you the greatest type of deal, right?
Yeah.
And I say the same thing, but I'm like, it's so true though. Like he is. He's great. He's awesome. And so that's the adoration part, right? And then I'll spend time actually praying for myself, praying about things I got to pray about or whatever. And I'll spend time praying for people, which I need to get better at, praying about things for people. Because people will tell you things, and if you don't always write down. And then when I do that, then I'll try to spend time to like read, you know what I'm saying? And so that's usually like my structure of kind of trying to do that.
Yeah.
Like, start off, because I read somewhere it says, enter my gates with thanksgiving. So that's how I try to approach the Lord, with thanksgiving and praise without bringing him all my problems. I'm going to start thanking him for who he is, So I normally like follow that structure of like, I'm going to thank him, I'm going to praise him, I'm going to pray for me. I usually don't pray for myself that much. And then, well, it depends. It depends. Like, if things are good, then I'm just like, yeah, things are good. We're happy.
Yeah.
Then, I'll try to pray for people, and then trying to finish off by reading. Yeah, that's kind of usually my structure there.
Yeah, bro. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, for the connect with God types, my biggest ways are solitude. I am very much in, if you go to a church service with me, most likely you will see me get away as much as I can from people, whether that be on the side or in the corner, or just away from people, so I could just be with the Lord. But especially if I'm at the house during my daily time with the Lord, like close the door to my room, either on my bed or on my floor, sometimes in my closet, and just hear. And then learning was one. I feel like that used to be a bigger thing. I don't know what it is. Like this year, I feel like I've grown more with the Lord through like expression and creation, to where as I've grown more creative and started to write more and just find this other side of me, that I invite the Lord in that process, and he speaks through it a lot more, revealing my own heart, but then also speaking a sort of truth in that I don't quite understand yet. Like one of the lines that he gave me, man, when was this? I want to say it was August of last year. I had this conversation with a friend that I really needed to have, that was on my heart. And then afterwards, there was just such a big weight in a positive way that just like fell off my shoulders. Not that there was sort of this burden that I was carrying, but just like this like gratefulness. And immediately after, like I started writing some, and the Lord gave me this line of the freedom that comes from obedience is irreplaceable. And often it's just like, dang, like I don't want to be obedient because that's constraining. God doesn't let me be me, all this kind of stuff. But really, like, it does bring like true freedom in this sense. At the end of the day, oftentimes in our cultures in the world today, we don't actually understand what freedom means. But it's been an interesting thing where I think I used to connect with the Lord a lot through learning different sorts of ideas in scripture, where if like something would just click in me understanding, it would often at times happen in the New Testament. And so I guess with me reading through a lot of the Old Testament this year, like that's maybe why it hasn't really been that way, because I've been reading through the Psalms and Isaiah and some others. But learning is one, conversation is another. Like this right here, us talking, like newsflash, like whenever we talk to others believers, we have an opportunity to connect with the Lord through conversation. Like I know because we have the Holy Spirit in us. And I know like the mercy culture guide doesn't really say that. It's normally just conversation directly with the Lord throughout the day on like a prayer walk, or just as you're going through the grocery aisle, like whatever. But yeah, like these sorts of conversations on a podcast or with friends, or over the phone, are some of the best ways that I connect with the Lord. There's things that the Holy Spirit says through friends, that if you know me, I write down a lot of things. And so if you speak gold, I'm going to write it down. And so be ready to pause for a second, or be ready to keep talking without me making eye contact because I'm making a note. That's something that I feel like we often discount. Sometimes we can be like, oh man, like they're a newer believer, I can't really learn anything from them. Or, oh dang, like I've been in the faith for 20 years now, like these new people or these other people, like I think I got it, like I think I'm pretty good. But no, you can learn a lot from everyone. The Holy Spirit can do a lot of growth in people miraculously and randomly sometimes. And then the other way that I've learned this year, really at the end of last year too, that I connect with the Lord really, really well, is through fasting. This year, the Lord gave me this rhythm, around February or March to do, pretty much like monthly fasts. Pastor Jasmine at Mercy Culture, she does, 1 day a week where she fasts. So I tried that at the start of the year, and it just wasn't really hitting. I was like, okay, God, like, I want to connect with you through fasting. I've connected with you before. Like, what is the rhythm? Like, how do we do this? And so then he gave me like the first full week of every month, to fast. And there's some that have been amazing, some where, I haven't really connected with the Lord that great. But at the end of the day, I have to remember that, fasting is just an invitation that the Lord is giving us to hear from him more clearly. It's not something where if I don't keep up with the fast and if I eat that slice of pizza, it's a sin, because it's not a sin. It's just an invitation from the Lord to connect with him more. And so that's kind of how I've gotten out of like feeling condemnation for fasting, which I think people can tend to do time to time. But yeah.
I've got a question about that.
Yeah.
With the fasting, that one is one that I'm like, I want to know more about. So interesting that's one way that you do. Would you say before this year that was something that you kind of practiced and felt connected with the Lord? Is that something that he kind of like introduced, like, walk with me in this way?
So the first time that I ever fasted was May of last year.
Okay.
I went to a service at Upper Room, to catch up with some of our friends. And there, the Lord spoke some really, really clear things, about where my heart was at the time, where he was going to be taking me over the course of the rest of this year, over the course of last year. And in it, Pastor Michael Miller shared how they were 19 days into their 40-day fast. And they had 21 days left, and extended an invitation for whoever hadn't been doing so far. Like, all right, hop on it. Like, let's go. And immediately was hearing from the Lord, join. I was like, what does this look like? Like, huh? I've never done this for. I haven't even done this for Lent whenever I was 7 years old. Like, what is this? And prayed into it kind of that day, and felt like the Lord gave me this weird fast that I never really heard of before, where it's basically not eating from sun up to sundown. And so, like, that's not something that I see as in the Bible, like, but it was what I felt like the Lord gave me as a rhythm. And there was so much emotion that was poured out during that time, so much clarity that was brought to life. And it was interesting because, like, that was during that time we hosted some friends here. And so I was wanting to take them to all the best spots around here. And so even in that, I was like, dang, I can't enjoy it. But there is something about being inconvenienced in order to draw closer to the Lord. That clarity is brought in that. Closeness and intimacy is brought in that. Because just like whenever you get married one day, like, or for us, all like us three in here one day, whenever we get married, like, we're going to be inconvenienced so that we can have intimacy with someone else. We're going to have an inconvenience of not really being able to be super close with you and me, Josue, with any other women, for you with any other man. But that's for the sake of us being able to love someone else and grow in intimacy with them. Gonna have to share a bed with someone for the rest of our life. That's probably not gonna be too comfortable sometimes, because it's just like, dang, stop kicking me. But it's for the sake of intimacy. And so that was where I really, really learned, like, dang, I heard the Lord super clearly during this time. I had some of the best conversations that I ever had with friends in my life. And it was beautiful. And then the next one where a lot of clarity really came was November of last year. I went on this 21-day fast with someone, and was one of the most intentional things like I'd ever done in my life. And a ton of clarity came to me through that, and felt like I was hearing the Lord really, really clearly. Received a number of words for people that were able to encourage them. and build them up. Yeah, like it's been a thing that I'm still growing in. But it's been beautiful to be able to have that, considering that was something that I never ever did growing, like not even once growing up. And so I'm thankful for the Lord to kind of like bring that along in my life, and that I'm excited to be able to, in some sort of degree, like exemplify that to like my future kids. Like, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But,
Last question.
Go ahead.
One more. In that, like the little assessment thingy, it talks about like pairing some of them together. So like, have you found that you've paired fasting with something else, like over the last year or so? Like,
That's an interesting question. I would say I tend, whenever I'm fasting, to go on, like the only way I connect with the Lord through movement is on prayer walks. I know some people do prayer runs. Some people pray during lifts, and I'm like, I don't know how you do this. Like I've tried, like I think there's only been one run in my life where it was like a prayer run where I really connect with the Lord. And I think it was on Easter too. Other than that, just like no luck. But I do go on more prayer walks when I'm fasting. And I feel like whenever I'm fasting, other people come to mind more naturally. And there's something that's in it. There's a video that I watched, maybe from Corey Russell. I can't remember, but there's something that happens, at least for me, whenever I start to intercede and pray for others, that I oftentimes like receive things for myself. And that's not what I intend to do. But there's something that a better comes whenever we give prayers to the Lord, rather than whenever we sort of like receive prayers like on our own behalf in a way. And so whenever I go on those prayer walks, whenever I pray to the Lord for people, whenever I ask the Father what his heart is for people, there's something that always like comes to me in that, that I don't expect ever. The only other thing that I can think of is a sort of mix of I don't know if I'd call it I don't know if I call it movement, but whenever I travel, I definitely connect with the Lord a lot more through expression and creation. To where there's, over the last like 4 trips that I've done, there's been a piece of writing or art that I've been able to create that I would not have been able to create at home. And so I don't know if that's called movement. I don't know if that is called creation, and reflecting with like connecting with God through nature and through just different place, and being able to see a different part of his character that's shown through creation. But yeah, like those are a couple that I've been paired this year that have been really, really good.
nice.
Does anything come to you mind? Geez, I said that bad. Does anything come to your mind, Mr. Butterman?
No, I think I saw somewhere. I think with fasting, it's like sometimes it's easy to get very legalistic about it. You know, I saw somebody said. Because I used to get confused. People like, I'm fasting candy. I'm like, what does that mean?
Candy?
Yeah, candy.
It's not a necessity.
I was just like, what? Like, I just used to get really confused because I came from like a very extreme, when you fast, you like barely even eating type of situation. So whenever people talking about like candy, I'm like, what? Like, what does that even mean? You know? And I remember, I think the funniest one I saw was a few years ago. This girl was talking about, she's like, yeah, people just don't know how to do fasting the right way. There's certain meals you can eat. She had like a hamburger and all these different things. And I was just like, girl, just eat your food. Like, I was like, just eat your food. Like, what are you talking about, you know? Yeah. But I do think that, you know, beyond that part of it, I think knowing where our heart's at is a big thing. It's like, you're fasting and you're still hating people. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Like, you're just wasting your time, you know? Like, it's somewhere in the Bible, the Lord called the people out. He's like, you guys say you're fasting, but look what you're still doing. You know what I'm saying? So I think it should be a time to really, you know, spend the time with the Lord, but also make sure, you know, our hearts and who we are we're very intentional. I think through those moments of fasting, I think there's definitely a lot of great. I've had like a lot of great things happen like at the end of fasts. It's like wow, I'm like okay, that was crazy. So, what about you? What were your
My top 4?
Yeah.
So
You answer your own question here.
oh, I didn't see this coming. So it was really interesting. The solitude was top, and then the last 3 were tied for second. So I got solitude, adoration, creation, and remembrance. So yeah, I mean, again, like I said before, I feel like reading these, it makes so much sense. Just being able to, like, for instance, when I heard from the Lord about Richland, I was alone in my room. And so was able just to hear clearly from him about that. Adoration, just love. Kind of like Josue when you're talking about praying and you just say all these things of like how amazing he is, and also just through like worship and singing and just all of that, just feel really connected when I'm praising, or even if I'm scared, like I'll just start singing and it's like, okay, I know everything's gonna be okay. So yeah, and then creation, I like kind of talking about pairing the two, like solitude and creation together. Wow. Like clearly just feel connected to him, see him, hear from him. Really beautiful. And then remembrance, just thinking back on who he's been. And I feel like remembering who he's been helps in the present and for the future, of knowing like this is who he's been, this is who he will always be. And so whatever is like stressful or something that I'm worried about, like just remembering who he is draws me closer to him in that. So yeah, those are my top 4.
Yeah. And then I want to share one thing, and then I want to have you again answer. I know you're wanting to interview us here, but again, you answer your own question about autopilot. But for me, there's if I ever feel like I struggle in connecting with the Lord, or feel like I'm on autopilot kind of in my daily time with him, which to encourage all of us, I think it's fair to say that just naturally happens. It's not like it's a fatal flaw that's in us.
I was gonna say my autopilot is because I'm not spending time.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to clarify.
Yeah, because I think even with me, like I'm glad to say that this year and at the end of last year, where God grew me to start to be consistent with him again, like literally like every day, to whereas like this is the most consistent time I've spent with him since college. And COVID was a nice little time too, but before that, in those couple years, there was like a lot of inconsistency, to whereas this year it's like, all right, the Lord has grown me to spend time with him daily, to where it's not even an option. It obviously looks different every day. But in it, at least for me, I still feel like sometimes even in my time with the Lord, I could get on autopilot, to where either I'm not connecting with him or I'm doing the same thing every day. I'm not hearing from him. I'm not sharing my heart with him. I'm not being vulnerable. I'm just kind of sitting there. I'm just saying the same words over and over again. And I feel like a good amount of people can probably relate to that. Either what you said about going on autopilot and not spending time with him, or with what I'm saying. And so these 4 questions that God's kind of given me this year really do help if I'm ever in one of those times where I ask myself this, or ask the Lord to kind of show me my heart, or where my mind is at with this. And so the 4 questions are, is there anything that I need to repent of? Because that can oftentimes just result in shame that is like wanting me to not enter his presence and not be vulnerable. But also anytime there's unrepentant sin, like the Lord has grace for us, but at the same time, like he can't dwell like where there's sin in a way. I can't really think of the theology of it right now, but basically there's a level of intimacy you can't have with the Lord if you're directly in sin. And so in it, asking the Holy Spirit to show you your heart, if there's anything that you need to repent for. Is there any emotions that I haven't processed? I've seen this a lot, to where if there's emotions that I have pent up because I don't want to be open and honest with the Lord, and I'm reserved and holding things back, that because of my actions, not because of the Father's desire, but because of my actions, I'm not able to enter into his loving embrace. He's there. He's chilling. Just like, hey, come on. Like, just share. And I'm like, nope, I don't want to. I want to be quiet. The next one is, am I tired, exhausted, or numb? And this would show, obviously, that there's something in the pattern of my life that needs to get changed, in the rhythm of my life. And oftentimes, I don't really see that in myself. It's something that the Lord just needs to show me. And then the last part is there pride, fear, or insecurity present? And this really helps me before, like if I'm approaching something big in my life, trying to ask that somewhat frequently. But definitely if like I'm really struggling with connecting with the Lord, in like a worship night or in something like that, asking him to show me if there's any pride present. And so those are 4 questions that have really helped me in like not just doing the same thing over and over again. Also, the last thing that I'll mention, and then I want you to share, is the last time I did this was Thanksgiving, but I feel like every now and then, like this just needs to happen. To where for me, where I spend the time with the Lord is in the morning. Typically, I go anywhere from like 35 minutes to an hour, something like that. And my daily time like looks like playing worship music pretty much the whole time. Worshiping for a little bit, welcoming in the Holy Spirit and God into the room. And then there's a set of daily prayers that the Lord has given me to steward. And I'm so grateful that the Lord has given me the word steward for those, because it could so easily just turn into like a habit, just a ritual of just like, all right, I'm just going to say these. But no, these are things that are on his heart that he's called me to steward and to carry. And then from there, typically in those prayers, ask the Lord for some other people to pray for. Sometimes, if I'm in a little bit of a rush, I can be selfish and not ask for those. And so that's probably the first thing to fall off if I'm not in the humble place that I need to be in, if I'm not genuinely seeking him. And then from there, just spend however much time in worship. Ask the Lord, what is your heart? Is there anything in your heart that you want to share with me? Ask him for scripture, if there's any scripture that he wants me to read that would show where his heart is. If there's anything I need to learn, ask these 4 questions. Ask any other questions that are on my mind that are just kind of swirling. And then from there, if there's a scripture that I'm just kind of going through at the time, which like right now is Isaiah, read that at that point, and then dip from there. But sometimes what I end up needing to do, this is probably once every like 6 weeks or so, or once every 2 months, is I just need like a 2 to 3 hour time with the Lord. And oftentimes, like, it's me not really saying very much, but it's me going on the couch downstairs whenever like not very many people are here at the house, and just turning on worship music and just like sitting there and soaking in his presence. And yeah, oftentimes like I don't really say very much in it. Like I whisper some stuff, but it's just a lot of like my mind and my thoughts connecting with the Lord, to where he can just show me a lot of things. But it's not a catch up is not the right word to use with it. But basically it's like, okay, Lord, I know in some inevitable way, my schedule is not going to allow me the time that I really want to connect with you. Should it be that way? No. But I know that I'm not perfect. And so carving out this time so that I can trust, and I've used this phrase a lot over the last few months, but I'm going to say it again. Trusting in the rhythms that allow for me to trust in his grace more than my ability to not make mistakes. And that's kind of like a rhythm that he's got me into for that. But yeah, I guess Josue, any thoughts off of that before we send it over to Tiffany?
Yeah, I was trying to find. Let's see. Yeah, the exact verse. Let me. I'll find the verse later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think even like as we're sharing and even as we're talking about what that looks like in like practical ways for different people. The verse I was looking for, essentially, it's a verse about comparison. He's talking about something specific, but I think even in that, we can still take the principle behind it where comparison is not the thing to do. You know what I'm saying? Essentially, it's like don't compare yourselves among yourselves. It's not wise, right? To compare. And so, like you find what that looks like for you. You know what I'm saying? In the sense of like, you don't have to have worship music on, or you don't have not to have worship music on. You know what I'm saying? For some people, it could be 3 hours a day. For some people, it's like, man, this is my 30 minutes, this is my hour. Me, I'm gonna do this and make it happen throughout the day. And finding out what that looks like for you, so you don't have to go in your secret place and you're just in your room, like as Jesus said, just close your door. Your Father sees you there. You don't have to go into that place trying to be Tiffany or me or Chase or whomever else. You can be you before the Lord. You know what I'm saying, and being able to communicate with them in that kind of way because he's a father to you as well. So just want to share that thing about So
That's good, bro.
Yeah, that was really good. Shout out to, what do you call him? Cousin Josue? Do you call him?
Which one? What are you talking about?
You said that in the African culture they call him cousin. Uncle.
Uncle.
I'm trying to think of the family member.
Yeah, uncles.
Uncle Josue.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So for me, I feel like oftentimes it has been autopilot, especially just with the way that the last 3 years have looked with like being full-time school and work and all the other things. But wait, what am I answering? My own question, right?
Yeah. Like how to help with autopilot, how to help with busy seasons,
yes,
the holidays, all of that.
Yeah. I think it is just realizing, and you touched on this, but you'll make time for what's important. Like more than, like you're saying, me detailing what it looks like to have like intentional time with the Lord, understanding that you make time for what's important, and if he is a first thing in your life, like you will make that time. So for me, that does look like in the morning praying, at night praying, but also like during my breaks, or just taking time whenever I have a moment again of solitude, because that's just what helps me the most. But whether it's having a note card with scripture on it and just remembering, like repeating that throughout the day, or whatever the case may be. But I think like in a time of busyness, reorienting your priorities would help so much in that, because there's, at the end of the day, there's nothing more important than our relationship with Christ. And even if it's exciting things like joining a new team and being like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited, I just like want to do all the things, it's like, yes, but what matters more, like that new exciting thing, or that one thing that maybe you're not excited about but you feel stuck in, or whatever the case may be. But just like reorienting your priorities to who he is, I think can help in those busy seasons of like truly knowing that there's nothing more important than our time spent with him. And it's not a chore, it's not like oh, I have to do this, or like once I get this, then I can move on to like the more important part of my day. But like, this is the one thing that matters. And if you don't start it off, or if you don't continue it, or whatever, like the day was wasted. And so, I mean, not wasted, that's a little strong, but yeah, I don't know. I think just understanding like that is the focus. Like, be busy with intentionally connecting with the Lord, and those other things will kind of fall into place.
Yeah, exactly right. And like, I think the last thing that I'll encourage everyone with is obviously our intention and our aim should not be to spend as little time with the Lord as possible. But at the same time, something I do want to encourage us is that the Lord, just like a father, would be proud if we spend even just a minute to 2 minutes with him every single day, rather than not spending any time with him in a day because of the shame that we may feel of not being able to spend as much time with him as we want. Even though it's not as much as we want, as long as we still spend something with him, he's going to be proud of us.
Yeah, and that's such a crazy default. You're like, I didn't do it at all, so I'm not going to do it at all. Instead of like, let me take 5 minutes to say something. It's like, I didn't do anything. Let me just not do anything. That's crazy.
Yeah, man. Any last things for you, Butterman?
No, I think it was such
Manteca?
yeah, it's such a crazy, interesting conversation. I don't even remember where I was having this, but someone just kind of brought up to, yes, I was listening to
What,
30 Minutes with
Basement?
the Perrys.
It had to be
Perrys?
one of those.
Yeah, Perry's.
Yeah, Jackie Hill Perry and
Preston.
Perry. But they were talking about how, Jesus oftentimes withdrew himself, for this same thing that we're talking about. He was a busy guy. He had life going on, literally. Pun intended and everything. He had, because he was live and he had life going on.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was a good
Bible
one.
jokes. But like, he would
Didn't know we
withdraw
were in
himself.
one of your sermons.
No,
Dang.
we're not.
As a
we're
joke,
not.
you'd say in one of your sermons.
Yeah, we're not. But like, he would withdraw himself, and he didn't just go away. Like, I don't know, I wasn't there, but like, I think because he was intentional about his time with the Father. It's like, Jesus, what was your prayer life like? You know what I'm saying? But the Bible states that he would oftentimes withdraw himself. He would wake up early to go pray. He's like, man, you guys, the flesh is weak. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Like, so Jesus did this thing. And I think there's a lot for us to be able to learn there. And to your point, I love that he didn't shame them for when they were sleeping. He's like, dang, y'all really asleep, huh? The second time, he's like, no, but like, y'all sleep.
Yeah, y'all need this.
He wasn't like, man, you guys suck.
Yeah.
Y'all should have been praying with me. He was like, come on, come pray. But they didn't. Anyways, besides the point. But he would withdraw himself, and like, I've never like gone on a what do you call those things? People like they would leave and drive away and go somewhere random to go just spend time in the wilderness with God or whatever. I'm like, man, gas too expensive. I gotta go to my room. But I think it's like just finding ways, like you said, to be intentional about, let me at least do 5 minutes. Let me do something, and not, and just be intentional about it. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like the Lord, loves, his children, and so even if it's just, Lord, I thank you for who you are, I'm like, man, I want to let me not do that, because I'm not good with commitments. I'm not good with the devotionals. I'm not good at those
yes.
things. That's what I mean by commitments.
Yes.
I'm not.
Clarify.
As soon as I miss one, I'm done.
Right.
I'm done for.
It's over.
As soon as I miss one, but like, even just doing things like that, where it's like, man, for 365 days, I thanked God just randomly. It's like, let's do that in 2023. It's not even like a prayer, not like your prayer life, but it's just something that you do at some point, at your day. You're just like, God, I thank you for X, Y, and Z. And let's say we did it for 365 days. God willing, he doesn't come back by then. But yeah, that's just for me.
He doesn't? You don't want him to come back?
No, I'm just saying, well, if he does come back, you won't be able to complete it, but we're not complaining, right? But I'm just saying, like, God willing, that sounded bad.
Yeah, I want him back.
Yeah.
That's okay. We understand you.
Yeah.
English isn't your first language. It's okay.
It's not my first
It's
language.
okay. I understand.
Goodness. Any last things for you, Tiffany? For your first time on the podcast? First of many?
Nothing else.
Nothing
Thanks
else.
for having me, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, I do have this random thought. It's really random, and I'll just say it. Okay. Do you guys ever just have like? I promise it connects, but it's like really random thoughts.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Most definitely.
I was thinking, because whenever we were talking about Jesus and him being with the, like, getting away and stuff like that, this thought that I had, it was either today or yesterday. This is so random. But I thought, you know how Jesus, of course, was a child, right? And he was around other children. You ever have, like, that person in your mind that was like, hey, I wonder what happened to, like, my childhood best friend? Like, we were so cool. Like, Jesus was somebody's childhood best friend. Do you ever think, like, what kind of friend would he... Could you just imagine, like, you're 8 years old and you're like, oh, I remember Jesus. I used to play soccer with him. Like, I wonder what happened to him. You know, and it's like, it's Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, just something I was thinking about. I said it was random. I'm sorry. I didn't mean.
No. That's a good idea.
So that's a great thought. It's like, I never like sound like
Another one.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Another really random one was like, I wonder what Jesus's womb experience was like. Because you know he had to know. It's like that random where it's like, where do these thoughts come from? I don't know. Should I say them out loud? Maybe not. I won't do this again. But it just was something when you mentioned it about him being around people. It made me think of that thought. It was profound to me.
Oh, it's profound.
I understand.
It's profound.
It's real weird. You can edit this in post. Just cut it out.
You're fine.
Just don't.
We'll get Michael Bay to edit it for us.
Oh, yeah. Turn this into a Transformers movie real quick. Dang. Okay. Yeah, we appreciate you coming on. As we said, Tiffani will start to be on the podcast more in various ways. So we're really excited for that. Excited for her heart to be on the team and all that. It's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, that'll be a wrap for us today. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. We'll be putting all of Tiffani's information in the description below if you want to go support her and everything that she's doing. All of our information will be in the description below as well if you want to support us. The podcast outreaches, everything that we're doing, especially since we don't have social media right now. Any support would be great. So until next time, much love. God bless.